And you also touched before on some plants are able to control the direction that their roots grow in. And this kind of brought me to, this kind of like brings me to a question of like, to what extent do you think plants have brains and are able to be aware of their environment? I think we talked like before about this, but there was an article, I think, in the New York Times in 1973 called "The Secret Life of Plants," where people kind of think that there's a consciousness that plants out. I was just wondering like what your thoughts on that are.
That's a great question, Emerson. And that is a hot topic of research, kind of this plant cognition area. And there's like a lot of research going into it. It's a little bit, I don't want to say pseudoscience, but it is, we have a long way to go to down that route. There were some experiments in, I think it's like a bean or pea plant, kind of like they show that they could potentially sense, directionality and kind of think in quotation marks to orient themselves like towards the pole, for example. That's a little bit, we're just scratching the surface on plant cognition, and then also brings us into like philosophical questions of like what is consciousness and like what is thinking, and kind of opens up the Pandora's box of philosophical questions. But I'm a very open-minded scientist. I'm always like going where the data lead, and being very open-minded and open to new ideas and new things, because a lot of the big breakthroughs that we've had that have won like Nobel Prizes and stuff were initially like laughed off, or like this isn't real, or I think there's like a perception among some people that humans know better than nature sometimes, which is not not the case a lot of the time. So there were a lot of surprises to be found, which is why we're still doing science. We're pushing the boundaries of the unknown and trying to find new things we didn't know before. So if we knew everything, then science would be dead.
Yeah, no, that's very true. No, there definitely are a lot of there's been a lot of big scientific breakthroughs where like people thought that the truth was not what it was. Like I think when a DNA was discovered, people were really shocked that it was such a simple structure that held like all of the genetic keys for humans. So but yeah,
Exactly.
but like I'm asking like from the stuff that like you've seen, would you say that plants have consciousness, or are you saying like there's not really like enough evidence at like this point?
For me, there's not enough evidence at this point. And also, if we do have evidence that comes up in the future, then I think we need to, it might cause us to reevaluate what consciousness is, and how we define consciousness and thinking. So I think at this point, I'm open-minded about it. I'm, it's kind of out of my field of expertise, so I don't feel ready to say that it for sure exists or for sure it doesn't exist. But I'm very open-minded to new ideas and new discoveries that come out. So
Okay, that's good.
like
Yeah,
some
no.
people like sing to their plants and talk to their plants, and they claim that they grow better. There actually is a lot of research about like, for example, plants have ways to defend themselves against like insects that try to eat them. And for example, if you have like a plant that's growing amongst a group of other plants, and then you have like a caterpillar that's chewing on one, they can release, we call them volatiles, so these like airborne things that can be sensed by other plants, and that causes other plants to ramp up their defenses against the potential insect threat that's coming along. And there's also some research showing that a plant can detect the difference between like an insect chewing on it and like something else, like the wind that's knocking it around or whatever, or so it's like a way to make sure that it's like a legitimate threat and not just a um, random thing in nature that's going on.
That actually sounds like there was something I was reading about, like a Venus flytrap, how like it can tell the difference between like an object in its mouth and like an insect chewing on it.
It's really interesting. Like the Venus flytraps, like you mentioned, and how they can, that you have to have like more than one hair being touched at the same time, I believe, for it to trigger the closing. So it's really cool how that's a really good example also.
Yeah, I think the article I was reading was saying that there's electric signals that are being sent like from the hairs in its mouth, and then if like the I don't know, I think it was like if like a yeah if like multiple are touched in a short time period, it like understands that as like something moving, and then it thinks that that's an insect. Actually, what was more interesting about that article too was it was like the experiment that was being done was basically like they basically found that like the Venus flytraps had like a like they had like a memory. So like when they did the experiment initially, it was falling for a lot of the fake things. Like they would put a stick in its mouth and it would fall for that. But then later on, it would like not like close its mouth as much. So I found that like pretty interesting.
That's really amazing how they're able to differentiate, and it's a really awesome technique that they use. That's really amazing.